Shakuni is one of the most complex, brilliant, and reviled figures in the ancient Indian epic, the Mahabharata. Often cast as the ultimate villain, he was the prince and later king of Gandhar, a region corresponding to modern-day northern Pakistan and eastern Afghanistan. Rather than a simple monster, Shakuni was a master political strategist driven by a deep, burning desire for vengeance. Shakuni was born to King Subala of Gandhar. His birth name was Subala, meaning son of Subala. He was later called Shakuni, which in Sanskrit translates to bird of prey, like a vulture or hawk. Calling him Shakuni was a nod to his sharp, predatory intellect and how he systematically picked apart the Kuru dynasty. He was highly intelligent and deeply loved by his family, especially his sister, Gandhari. His early life was upended when the powerful Kuru kingdom of Hastinapur demanded Gandhari's hand in marriage for their blind prince, Dhritarashtra. Shakuni's entire entry into the politics of Hastinapur was rooted in his love for Gandhari. When Bhishma arrived in Gandhar with a massive army to demand Gandhari's hand for the blind prince Dhritarashtra, the match was viewed by the Gandhar royals as a deeply insulting power move. Gandhari, out of duty and love for her family, accepted the marriage and famously blindfolded herself to share her husband's darkness. Shakuni, however, saw this as an unforgivable humiliation forced upon his beloved sister by the predatory superpower, Hastinapur. According to popular regional folklore and later adaptations of the epic, the match was deeply resentful to the Gandhar royal family. Bhishma, the patriarch of Hastinapur, used military intimidation to force the marriage. In some variations of the myth, Hastinapur later imprisoned the entire Gandhar royal family over a hidden astrological secret. That Gandhari had technically been married to a goat first to ward off an omen. They were imprisoned and given only a single grain of rice per person each day. King Subala decided that only one of them should survive to take revenge. They chose Shakuni, the cleverest among them. As his brothers and father starved to death, his father intentionally broke Shakuni's leg, ensuring he would walk with a permanent limp, which would serve as a constant, painful reminder of his vow to destroy the Kuru dynasty. Before King Subala died, he told Shakuni to fashion a pair of dice out of his own bones. These dice were magical, infused with his father's spirit. They would roll exactly what Shakuni commanded. Armed with these dice and a mind built for psychological warfare, Shakuni moved permanently to Hastinapur under the guise of being a supportive maternal uncle, or mama, to Dhritarashtra's children, the Kauravas. Shakuni recognized that the eldest Kaurav prince, Duryodhan, was deeply insecure and jealous of his cousins, the virtuous Pandavas. Shakuni actively poisoned Duryodhan's mind from childhood, turning healthy sibling rivalry into absolute, homicidal hatred. Instead of counseling peace, Shakuni validated Duryodhan's darkest impulses, making himself indispensable to the prince. Recognizing that the Pandavas were gaining popularity, Shakuni engineered a plot to assassinate them without leaving evidence. He had a highly flammable palace made of lacquer, hemp, and ghee, built in the town of Varnavat. The Pandavas were sent there on vacation, with the intent to burn them alive in their sleep. However, the Pandavas were tipped off by their uncle Vidur and escaped via an underground tunnel, thwarting Shakuni's first grand conspiracy. When the Pandavas later built a magnificent kingdom in Indraprasth, Duryodhan's envy reached a boiling point. Knowing the Pandavas could not be defeated in open battle, Shakuni engineered his masterpiece, a game of dice. He exploited the Pandav king, Yudhishthir's weakness for gambling and his adherence to the Kshatriya or warrior code, which forbade turning down a challenge. Using his rigged dice, made from his father's bones, Shakuni systematically stripped Yudhishthir of his wealth, his kingdom, his brothers, himself, and finally, their shared wife, Draupadi. This event led directly to the public humiliation of Draupadi and fixed the path toward an inevitable war. After losing everything in the game of dice, the Pandavas were ordered to a 13-year exile. When the Pandavas returned from their exile, they were refused their rightful kingdom, and that is when the Kurukshetra war began. Though primarily a master planner who operated in the shadows, Shakuni was also an accomplished warrior. On the battlefield, he used Maya Yuddha or illusionary warfare to confuse his enemies. He fought fiercely, while commanding the Gandhar cavalry and killed several prominent warriors on the Pandav side. On the 18th and final day of the war, Shakuni faced Sahadev, the youngest of the Pandav brothers. Sahadev had taken a solemn vow during the dice game to avenge their humiliation by killing the architect of their misery. After a fierce duel where Shakuni used all his illusionary tricks, Sahadev still managed to sever Shakuni's head, finally ending the life of the mastermind of Gandhar. Ultimately, Shakuni achieved exactly what he set out to do in his youth. By playing on the pride of the Kauravas and the righteousness of the Pandavas, he successfully orchestrated the total annihilation of the Kuru dynasty. He stands in mythology as a cautionary tale of how deep-seated trauma and unyielding vengeance can consume a brilliant mind and burn down entire civilizations. The deep tragedy of Shakuni and Gandhari is that Shakuni's love for his sister became the very engine of her grief. Shakuni believed that by making Duryodhan the absolute emperor of Hastinapur, he was honoring his sister and avenging his family. He convinced himself that destroying the Kuru line was a favor to Gandhari. However, Gandhari did not want an empire built on deceit and blood. She wanted peace and the survival of her family. When the war ended, Shakuni's plots successfully wiped out the Kuru dynasty, but it meant that all 100 of Gandhari's sons were slaughtered. Shakuni died on the battlefield, having achieved his revenge, leaving his beloved sister blindfolded, childless, and grieving amidst the ashes of the empire he broke for her. Shakuni was not an atheist or an impious man. In the original text by sage Vyas, Shakuni is described as a great devotee of Lord Shiva. Before major events, including the famous dice game, he performed rigorous prayers and rituals to seek blessings. The illusionary powers he used on the battlefield were believed to be boons earned through intense penance and spiritual discipline. While Shakuni is widely regarded as a villain across India, there is a prominent temple dedicated to him in South India. The Mayamkhattu Malancharuvu Malanda temple is located in Pavitreshwaram, near Kollam in Kerala. The local tradition there tells a very different story. When Shakuni traveled across India dividing kingdoms, he stopped at this spot, found inner peace, and meditated to Shiva. The temple community focuses not on his deceit, but on his profound intelligence, his devotion to Shiva, and his role as a necessary catalyst for the cosmic cycle of dharma. As without great darkness, righteousness cannot be tested and morality cannot be reborn. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe so you can get notified when more videos like this are uploaded.